Hello and welcome to another segment of Intersections, Policy, Program, and Practice Exchange. My name is Elisa Gwilliam, and today I have the pleasure of talking to Executive Director of MHA Dutchess, Andrew O'Grady, Professor of Psychology and Director of the Center of Aging and Disability Policy at Mount St. Mary College, and co-founder of NOAR, Dr. Larry Force. So Dr. Force, would you like to introduce our guest speakers today? Jim Ball, CASAC-T, Coordinator of Peer Services at MHA Dutchess, and Stephanie Camardella, right? LMSW, CASAC-2, MHA Dutchess Community Recovery Specialist.
Well, first of all, thank you for being able to host this and moderate it, because of the fact that from the comments that we've received, Intersections Policy, Program, and Practice Exchange is being applauded as an opportunity to raise the voice about cutting edge strategies in the area of addiction and recovery and wellness, really lacing together technology, which is obvious is what we're doing, coupled with the fact that we're all responding to this COVID-19 crisis. So thank you for doing this. You know, each week, as you indicated, we get together with the purpose of having this exchange. And today, we're pleased to have Jim Ball, who is Coordinator of Peer Services at Mental Health of America at Dutchess, and Stephanie Camardella, who is a Community Recovery Specialist at Mental Health of America at Dutchess. And what they're going to talk about in a minute is they're going to talk about what is now. You know, at the beginning of this, Andrew and I have known each other for a long period of time. And in informal discussion, and then bringing in Jim Ball and Dave Brinkerhoff, and that discussion increased, we talked about the fact of, you know, how we could collaborate on the implementation of this program, which we're very excited about and we know is very effective. And we'll talk about how we know it's effective as we're going through this. And then COVID comes in. So the next thing you know, here we are on this video platform. And the intent is to be able to raise the voice. And this is really something that we're committed to through this Intersections Exchange, to be able to raise the voice about cutting edge areas and being able to reframe, because we're all in the process now, all of us, in reframing, not only how we live, but also how we work. And this is an opportunity to, again, add voice to that. Andrew, before Jim and Stephanie are formally introduced and come on, maybe you could talk for a moment about, you know, your observations and reflections, because we came to you with an idea. You know, we had an idea, we had a scoped out from a theory called the theory of dimensionality. We had a practice, the dimensional solution-based treatment practice, which is a here and now type of practice. And we came to you and we said, hey, look, we want to implement this. And you said, come on in, the door is open. And for that, we will be forever grateful. But let's talk a little bit about this collaboration from where you sit, because you've been on this landscape for years and you've seen a lot of different types of approaches. And you have definitely rallied around and have become a champion of this one. So Andrew.
Well, one of the reasons that I'm very happy to oversee a not-for-profit organization is that I have the ability to try new things and not get stuck in the bureaucratic nightmare of holding things up for months or years. So when Intersections was brought to the forefront and brought to my hold on one second. This is real life, right? This is real life.
Very real.
So somebody decides to use a saw right outside of my office, right, when we're doing this. So let me just shut the door.
Okay. This is very real. And while Andrew is doing that, I think that's one of the benefits.
Now, it would have been more real if I swore, but I didn't swear. I held it together.
You didn't swear. You handled it with grace. Okay, and that's what we think about you, handling things with grace.
There you go. So the great thing about being able to take Intersections, learn about it, and then realize that MHA Dutchess could be part of this. And like I said before, I truly believe that this is going to be a national platform that people all over this country can use to help people with addiction. So I wanted my agency to be part of that right from the beginning. So we first hired Jim Ball to work to build up our peer services here at MHA Dutchess, knowing that he had a connection to Intersections. And then when we had the opportunity, I saw the opportunity to build even more and give our input into Intersections by building the manuals and really improving the training. Stephanie came to our door, and I said, this is a perfect fit. So now our agency has 2 staff members and myself all in on this and collaborating with Larry and Dave Brinkeroff, who you saw last week, in making sure that this program is known throughout the region and the country as a platform and an arena to try to help people in a different way for addiction.
Well, and I think that really summarizes it and provides the overview. And, you know, I in my studies, I've always heard that there's nothing like a good theory, because a theory guides the way. It's like a compass. So we had this theory, and then we had a practice orientation. And then Jim enters the scene through MHA, and he starts to implement this, which at times can be like herding cats. Anytime you're looking at developing or implementing a new program, you know the work that's involved in it. So Jim, at this point, what I'd like to do is turn it over to you and maybe just talk a little bit about the experiences you've had and where you are in the implementation of the program and the results that you've received. And also Stephanie, to be able to add to that discussion because of the fact of the work that you're doing in creating a manual that will be available nationwide. So Jim, I'd like to welcome you to Intersections Exchange. And
All
then
right. I am unmuted.
Okay. We can hear you.
Okay, great. So yes, thank you guys, both Andrew and Larry. I am the peer coordinator here at MHA. And I am a peer. You know, I'm a person in long-term recovery. I'm in sustained recovery for 26 years from mental health and substance use. And, you know, I've been able to sustain that recovery a day at a time. I have a family that I love and care for. I do work I'm passionate about, and I'm able to have some successes in the community working at as a peer coordinator here. And I just want to say that MHA is an amazing place to work. We're on the cutting edge of the co-occurring issues. And, you know, we're not talking about it, we're leading here. And so it's very exciting. Intersections, the goal of Intersections is to improve outcomes of reoccurrence, keep people out of the ER and services, and help them stay on their recovery plan to integrate back into the family and the community. And that's what we're hearing as from the people in the community residences here at the agency is, you know, one of the number one thing that they want from their recovery is to get back with their family and community, to reconnect. You know, Larry referenced the dimensional solution-based treatment, starting here and moving forward. I sat in on the NatCon at Home conference last week, the National Council on Behavioral Health, and you know, they talk about recovery being the expectation that treatment can make a difference. And I think that that's what, you know, that's what we do here is at MHA is we make a difference. Down in Georgia, they do the good work that Rosalind Carter and Jimmy Carter started. They're very forward in recovery. In Western New York, here we have best practices with the opiate court in Buffalo, which is receiving national attention. New Jersey, they have their peer services in the working in the jails. All of these interventions and best practices we're learning from. And we've learned, it's not about individuals. It's not really about families. These are community issues: behavioral health, substance, mental health. These are community issues. James Taylor says in his new book, Break Shot, that, his issues were, he was ego driven. He just wanted to feel better. And that was my story. I just wanted to feel better. And drugs and substances are a shortcut to that. But with the Intersections program, we look at self-care as a way to, make a substitute for that, for the substances that are taken away. Self-care becomes the replacement for the addiction. So,
and Jim, could I just intervene here for 1 second?
Yeah.
The formal title of our program is called Intersections, a Day Program Without Walls, meaning that the person can embed it. It can be delivered both in platform, which obviously we're not doing that now because of COVID, but also through technology. But when you talk about self-care, could you highlight what some of the modules look like so that people have an understanding of when you're talking about self-care, how it's actually presented, the different modules?
Sure. So what we've done is, with Andrew's help, we started the pilot program last year at the different residences. We have 3 community residences here. We have a men's house with 25 individuals. We have a home for women with 25 individuals, and then a smaller operation with about 16 individuals. It's co-ed. And what we do is we have the modules are, as Larry mentioned, nutrition. We do a movement module. We have mindfulness, meditation. And the way it works is we go into the residence and we sit down and we ask questions. We use motivational interviewing. We listen to the individuals and we reflect supportively. We help empower the individuals by listening to them, and we bring a facilitator. What the facilitators, there's a little resistance to be called an expert when the facilitators are people who are walking the road with us in recovery. And we'll have, so we'll do a round robin. We'll ask people, the first question we ask people is, what's important to you? Whether it's around nutrition or meditation, mindfulness, so that we can address it individually and try to wrap them with with an understanding of meeting them where they're at. And as we go through the modules, we find, different people react differently to the different modules. The men were very interested on the movement side. They might be more interested in weightlifting and running, where in the women's residence, we may focus more on yoga or qigong or some, or a more a wellness focused area. So is that what you're looking for, Larry?
Yeah, that, and also adding to that, one of the underlying or embedded principles of the theory of dimensionality, which we're basing our work on, is if you feel better about yourself, you'll feel better about things around you. And that is key. The other thing is that, and we're very proud of, is the fact that we've also embedded a module dealing with virtual reality. because we want to be able to have people have an understanding of hope and also the way things can be, not only just the way that they are. I mean, we all have histories, we all have rear view mirrors, and we're not discounting that as though that those things didn't happen. But what we are doing and very clear about is that it's not the only things that have happened. There have been multitude of good things in everyone's life, regardless of how you feel about yourself right now. And one of the things that we know from a therapeutic intervention perspective is that nobody talks to us more than we talk to ourselves. And we say things to ourselves that we would never allow anybody else to say. And I think that one of the things that has been very important, and you've done, and I'm not just saying this because you're on this video cast, you've done a masterful job in implementing this, is the fact that we're giving people a sense of hope, but things that they can take with them throughout their life to be able to embed. Stephanie, at this point, you know, you have joined the initiative as Andrew had indicated, and you bring a skill set to the table. And one of the things that you've been doing is drilling down on various, you know, theoretical perspectives and the trauma stuff and helping to craft the e-manual. Maybe you could talk for a moment or so about, you know, because you came into this and it's like learning a new language. You know, you're trained in a particular area and now you're in this arena and you're doing really well in it. But maybe you can talk about your impressions.
Right. So thank you, Larry. Yeah. So my education is in social work. I am a licensed master social worker, and I have been in the addictions field for roughly 6 years as a KSAC. And so I came in to MHA in February to join the Intersections Initiative. And at that point started writing the Train the Trainer manual. And at that time, we were working from a in-person platform, meaning we were, I believe, intending on delivering the program in-person trainings and in-person group delivery. And that all changed as a result of COVID-19. So we kind of quickly found ourselves in this new and unfamiliar territory and having to completely change and overhaul the way we were going to deliver the program. So I wanted to speak a little bit on the benefits of digital recovery solutions and why the need is so important and the value of it, really. So I come from a background in evolutionary psychology and equine assisted therapy. So I work with horses in therapeutic interventions with people. And so my perspective focuses on the theory behind humans as social animals. So much like sheep or horses who live in groups for thriving and surviving, when people are denied access to social engagement, support, and relationships with other humans, the resulting isolation creates anxiety and fear from not having the protection of perceived others. So that's when we see increases in mental health conditions like depression, anxiety, obsessive compulsive, and substance use disorders. These are developed as maladaptive coping mechanisms to manage the unsettling feelings of social exclusion. In this regard, if addiction and mental health symptoms are the result of isolation, then the opposite of addiction is connection to others. But in the current pandemic climate, the world is facing forced isolation. This is compounding pre-existing addiction and mental health crises in our communities. This has really required the addiction treatment and mental health care arena to maximize efficiency of the existing tools in technology for service delivery in order to increase the reach and capacity to help support and treat more people. Digital recovery and mental health care interventions, as a result, is becoming the new standard of care. And I wanted to expand on that and talk about some of the specific benefits of digital recovery solutions. For one, it can deliver recovery and mental health care literacy, prevention, intervention, assessment, support, or a combination of any of these, and usually target conditions of mild to moderate severity. It has the potential to deliver effective, affordable, and accessible services as a useful complement to other forms of care and support. It can fill in the gaps in service provision and reach hard to access clients who are not currently seeking help from service providers due to things like stigma, cost, time, transportation, or childcare. It also improves access to early diagnosis, intervention, and care by providing another means of early access to services. Digital interventions allow for reduced duration of untreated illness and potential for less intensive treatment and faster recovery. Regarding efficiency, for some people, online information, self-management, and e-therapy programs may be more sufficient to alleviate symptoms at a minimal cost and without clinical support. Digital services can provide more flexible access to in-person contact with a mental health or addiction recovery provider. It also provides for a quicker identification of more serious conditions and or access to emergency support. And I wanted to support some of those statements with a study I found from the School of Psychology at the University of Dublin. They recently published research that highlighted the long-term outcomes and cost effectiveness of including digital mental health interventions as part of clinical care, including stepped care models. And this study, the stepped care model was similar to something like Intersections. Out of 360 service users of a community-based provider being given 8 weeks of digitally supported mental health intervention for depression and anxiety, compared with a control group who didn't receive the service. After 3 months of treatment, 56.4 participants had extinguished diagnoses of anxiety and or depression. A further significant decrease in symptom scores was seen at 12 months of treatment, on average a 50% decrease. So research like this is demonstrating that digital care solutions have a strong place alongside conventional in-person therapies.
And I just want to add to this. I mean, the fact is that overview that you gave, okay, is right on target. I mean, did we stumble into this arena? Maybe, but we have excelled in it. And the fact is that the fingerprints that you bring to the table about drilling down and being able to see what types of studies are out there, because this is the goal, as I think we're all agreeing on, is the fact that we're looking for people. I loved what Jim said at the very beginning when he said that recovery is the expectation that the treatment makes a difference. And I think we can feel very good about the fact that we know that we have something, and we can see the way that, a seasoned administrator, Andrew O'Grady, comes to the table and gets excited about this. And, now you provide the overview of this digital, solution, which is, as I tell my students, there's two things that you bring into a family's life: your heart and a sense of technology. If you can only bring one, you bring your heart. But I want to go back and thank you so much, Stephanie, because that discussion that you just provided, that overview, just adds so much to adding, a framework to what we're doing. And Jim, I know that you've talked about, what's going on locally, with the houses. And as we now have reached out statewide and nationally, could you just talk a moment about what you found, in looking, not necessarily the demographics or the numbers, but the qualitative stuff that people that have been going through this program have said to you, and what you can now share with other people?
Sure. As I mentioned, we started off trying to do a quantitative analysis, and we found that it was difficult because we do have a turnover in our houses, but also that it's really the individual story that is impactful in terms of collecting the data. And what we found, we started adding more and more qualitative questions, like, what is important to you? And when we talk about that, it's really relationships. We find that these people want that this group really wants to get that family relationship back. we've had all sorts of comments about the different modules, different facilitators we've brought in, different ways of presenting, the peer impact, talking with we had a licensed nutritionist come in. But really, I think people are looking for that connection. We keep talking about the connection. Addiction, chronic illness, mental health, they're all dimensions in our lives that isolate us. And they isolate us from ourselves, they isolate us from our families, and they isolate us from our spirit. And Intersections it's a vehicle that helps us reconnect with our lives, because it's empowering, and we know that empowered people do recover. And just the way, we also know that the pathway to recovery is self-care. It's learning how to take care of ourselves. And I just also want to say, to dovetail on to Stephanie, the trainer's manual, if you have more interest in Intersections, you can contact us through the website. Melissa will leave our information at the end. But very soon, we are going to start going out there and certifying trainers to bring this. So, we here in Dutchess County can, deliver this to our regional, but to go out and to try to deliver this on a national level, we're going to be doing online trainings. We're going to be certifying trainers, and you'll be able to bring this to your both your mental health, your substance, and your chronic illness client.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
And Alyssa, would you be able to bring up that picture of the Hudson River building?
Absolutely.
Because this is an image that we have used referenced in all of our intersection exchanges, because this tells it all. And what this is a picture of the main building on a local psychiatric center that is being torn down. And the tagline is "Mental health at its best, tearing down the walls." And the one thing that I really feel as though that we can feel very proud of is that we are tearing down the walls through this intervention of Intersections. We're moving beyond diagnoses. And Andrew, one of the things that is key, every conversation that we've had about this, you've been a major, major champion of tearing down the silos. So maybe you could just talk for a moment about how you see Intersections being a breakthrough in the delivery through technology and moving away from, the diagnosis into wellness.
Well, first, make sure I'm not on mute. First, I just want to say that Stephanie, I was enthralled by listening to you. I was learning, even though I know about this stuff. I'm learning from you, and Jim, you're as well. Phenomenal jobs presenting the programs from your perspectives. This is another opportunity to bring these silos together and to get rid of them. And as I see that building falling down piece by piece, I'm hoping that we break down the silos. Larry, you had said something that struck with me, that the virtual aspect of this and the guided meditations and trying to help people visualize what their life can be. Why that's so important for so many people is that there's a whole group of individuals, especially the ones that we deal with, a percentage of the people we deal with in our community residences, that had maybe generations of poor parenting, generations of absent fathers, generations of a family system that was broken. So it's really hard. I always say, and I talk about my brother sometimes in these things. He went through a period of addiction in his life in his 40s, and now he's got his master's degree in social worker, and he's doing great, 10 years later. But I always say that somebody like him, who went through he really went through a process with opiates. He's a big guy. He weighed probably 280 pounds. He got down to about 140 pounds because of opiates, and unrecognizable. and he was just heading toward the grave, frankly. But he turned it around, and he's back on track. And we always joke in the family that, oh, Brendan's 300 pounds, so that's a good thing. But he was able to look back when talking about what his life can be and see the family that we had, and see the house that we had, and see that things could be better. Some people can't visualize that because they have nothing to look back on. But that's why this guided meditation and the visual aspect of this, helping people see what things could be. It's really hard to just conceptually think things can be better if you can't even, if it's never been something you've had. So that's one aspect of this dynamic that is so important. And there are people like my brother. There are people that have had great lives that get drawn into alcohol and substance abuse addiction. And there are people who haven't had great lives, and maybe they're self-medicating. And the numbers are staggering of the people that have mental illness that self-medicate, or the people that medicate because of their mental illness. So there really shouldn't be silos. It's all interconnected, and we're doing our part to look at the whole person and to really pull it all together and give people a chance to get back to living a life, or for the first time living a life that's going to be beneficial to them and their families.
Absolutely. And as we summarize this, Alyssa, would you be able to bring up the other two slides that Jim has regarding intersections?
Oh, these are great. Let's try. Can you see that?
Yeah, it's all about recovery. And I think, Jim, using your words, and I want to go back to them. Recovery is the expectation that treatment makes a difference. And I really feel as though that the intersections and the work that you're doing and the work that Stephanie is doing in collaboration, I think we really, truly are making a difference. Do you have access to the other slide? There it is.
Yeah.
There it is. And I think it really, when we started to frame this out, our vision was the intersection of aging and addiction, technology and traditional, platforms. And I think that all of us can be very proud about what started out as an idea has now been implemented. And Jim, your point is well taken. And I think people need to hear it clearly that, through connecting with us, we're in a position now to start to talk about a train the trainer type of model, certifying people in this because we know that it works. So before we turn it back to Alyssa, are there any other summary comments from Jim or from Stephanie?
I just want to thank Andrew and Larry for support, and it's just it's a very exciting time in New York State, I'll say, for recovery. The focus is now shifting to the person-centered care, trauma-informed care, harm reduction, looking at the peer-to-peer model, the co-occurring disorder. We're moving out of a system that and into really into the light, I think. And it's just really exciting to be at an agency that's leading in that respect.
Absolutely. Stephanie, any final comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to add to also what Jim was saying, as far as the whole paradigm shift of the way and how we deliver services and what the content of those services and programs are. The COVID-19, I think, we've seen more good come out of it than not. And one of those lights at the end of the tunnel, or lemons out of, or lemonade out of lemons, if you will, I think has been the forcing of agencies and providers to kind of roll up their sleeves and dig into this digital these digital resources and technology to really, make the most of it and put it to work to deliver these kinds of services, that we are learning are more and more effective than traditional therapies alone, to deliver those to the masses, to more people, to reach,
Absolutely.
not only people in New York State, but people in Missouri or Montana or California. So I think it's really enabled us to broaden our reach and maximize the potential of efficacy and ultimately greater outcomes. So more people getting more and better treatment. So more people in recovery and having success at that.
Yep. Well, thank you very much. And Alyssa, again, thank you for moderating this, and I'd like to turn it back to you as we bring this episode to a close. But this was outstanding. Jim and Stephanie, you did a great job. So thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Well, thank you, Andrew and Larry, and thank you to our special guests today, Jim and Stephanie. And thank you for joining us today. You have been listening to Intersections Program, Policy, and Practice Exchange. And if you would like to hear this program again, share it with friends, or even comment on it, you can log on to our Digital Resource Center on our website, www.intersections-exchange.org. Make sure you sign up for our newsletter while you're on our website as well. You can also follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. We hope you join us again next week as we continue our conversation on Intersections, Policy, Program, and Practice Exchange.